Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's episode on YOMED. I'm Jifa, your host for today. We'll be having a conversation with a lecturer at the University of Ghana, and he's in the person of Dr. John Sedofia. So he's a lecturer at the Department of Teacher Education, as well as a counseling psychologist. Without wasting much time, let's begin. Good afternoon, Doc.
Good afternoon, Jifa. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, over the past few weeks, we've been having interaction with some of the young students, and then we noticed certain challenges that was a trend among them. So, one is about the negative comments that the lecturers or the teachers keep giving out during their lecture or classes period. What would you have to say about that?
Right, thank you. I can relate with what the students have told you, because I've been a student myself before, and as a lecturer, I also have the opportunity of listening into some of the comments that my colleagues pass.
Okay.
I can say that it is unfortunate that some of my colleagues were engaged in that. Now, what I would like to tell my students is that whenever they hear any such comments, they should not take them to heart, because I will describe them as a typical Ghanaian adult way of talking to a younger person, particularly when you feel that the younger person is not doing what you want them to do. We shout at them, we say sometimes negative things at them. For example, a parent telling the child that if you don't do A, B, C, D, I will get the police to arrest you. So I would like young people to understand that it's a simple, a harmless comment. They should not take it to heart and allow such comments to prevent them from continuing with their studies, or to even stop them from schooling. Thank you.
You're welcome. But don't you think, instead of giving or passing those negative comments about the students, don't you think calling them, especially in public spaces, don't you think calling them in private and then advising them is rather better?
Absolutely. That would have been the better option. But as I said, I can understand that it is not all of my colleagues who have received the training to do those things. And so, yes, that is the best way. For those of them who know that that is the best way, do call the students in private and then talk to them. And I would encourage as many lecturers as possible to do that, rather than pass negative comments about the students.
Okay, thank you. So what would you have to tell the lecturers and the parents as well, or caregivers that do those things, pass those comments to embarrass? I learned some of them do them intentionally just to embarrass them. What would you have to tell them?
I would go straight to the point to say to my colleague lecturers, parents, caregivers, other adults who pass those negative comments, to put a stop to it, because it does not help psychologically. Because words are powerful. When positive words are spoken, they bear positive fruits. The same way, when negative words are spoken, they bear negative fruits. So colleague teachers who engage in those things should stop. Parents who do those things should stop also. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and also having forcing your word, or students who are being made to study courses that does not inspire them, or that's not what they want, is really rising. It's something that is common, especially in the university space.
Okay.
So what do you think about that?
Thank you. That is not a new thing. As you have rightly described, it's a common phenomenon in Ghana, particularly among the so-called elite parents who believe they know so much so that they want their children to do A, B, C, D without recourse to, one, the child's interest, two, the child's capability, three, socioeconomic factors, and four, even political factors. These factors are very important factors to be considered in deciding which course a person does or which career path they take. Unfortunately, most parents will insist that you either do this course or program or I don't look after you. It is unfortunate. Unfortunate because that has resulted in many people doing courses or programs or taking careers that they do not love. So my suggestion to my colleague parents is that let us, anytime we want to guide our children to select a career or a course, find out from them what their interest is, because research in career interest tells us that a person's interest is one very paramount factor to consider in selecting a career. Their ability is equally important. You may be highly interested in becoming an army person, but if you don't have the ability, you will be a very poor army person. So capability is equally very important. But socioeconomic factors, would you be able to afford it if you send your child to do that course, is another issue. And then I mentioned political factors. That is a very important factor in Ghana, because we know, for example, that a child can take a course, have high interest in it, have capability in it, but will end up not having a job at the end of the day. So we should look at a combination of all these factors to guide our children to select their courses and careers for that matter. And the best people who can do this are the trained counselors who can provide you and your child with the right guidance. So parents who are not sure should consult counselors. Thank you.
Okay. So I also believe that there are some parents that understand what they are doing. They believe that they give it to their children, so they have to decide for them. And looking at all the factors that you mentioned, they also consider it, and then they choose a particular career path for the children to go. That at the end of the day, they'll get a job after, and then maybe live a good life. Yet still, there are students who still feel their parents are not doing best for them. What would you say about that one?
Yeah, that is also true, because I have handled cases like that. And so in some of those cases, I had no option than to recommend that the person drops that course, because you would notice that after all of that, the person is still not, as we say in Ghana, seeing top. The person is still struggling with the course. So if you realize that after all you have done, the person is still not pulling or doing well, there's no problem. Just let them drop. And let us remember the fact that career choice is a process. It doesn't happen overnight.
That's true.
As people develop, their career preferences and choices for that matter evolve, they change. So at one point in time, an adolescent or a child or even an adult can say, I want to be so and so, or I want to join so and so career. But after a year or two or a few months later, that person's career choice can change. So we should bear that in mind and not think that career choice and preference is something that is static. Once a person says, I want to be a nurse, the person has to be a nurse at all costs. It doesn't happen that way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So please, what would you tell a young student to embrace the reality?
That is another good question. The reality, as I have said, is that, you see, you have to consider all these factors to decide which course or which career you want to take. So if you consider all of them and you think you are comfortable with where you are going, it is fine. And I would suggest that because of the educational system we are operating, particularly at the university, when you select your program, it is difficult for you to change. Parents and children who are selecting their courses should give it a very serious thought before they do. But I also reckon the fact that sometimes people choose and later they realize their mistake. So when that happens, then I recommend a change. That comes with a certain cost in time, cost in resources and all of that. But it's better to graduate late and do what you truly love than to graduate early and then end up not loving what you are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. So we also have the last question here, where they have the fear of missing out. So they feel that they have a fear of missing out, so they try to engage in unhealthy activities like the smoking, skipping class. They feel like that's what's trending, that's what their friends are engaging in. So if they don't engage in, they are lacking. Yes. So what do you have to tell us?
Thank you for that question. Yes, indeed, drug use is one of the big problems we have as a nation, and particularly at the university. Because when young people join the university, they think they are on their own, so they can do anything. That's true. One of the things that causes them to do that, as you have mentioned, is the fear of missing out. Young people out there, I would like you to understand that nothing should be a reason for you to use drugs, particularly hard drugs, because at the end of the day, they will not help you in any way. Whatever you fear you'll be missing out, you rather miss it. And I have a typical example that I give married people who have sexual issues, sexual dysfunction issues. So those people think that drinking alcohol, using alcohol or other drugs will help their sexual dysfunction. But the literature says that those drugs rather cause sexual dysfunction. So the point I'm making here, young people, is that if you think drugs will help you to overcome the fear of missing out, you are deceiving yourself. They will rather make you miss out more. So put a stop to it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So what would you tell them to, or how do you think they can overcome such temptation?
Thank you. A lot of things. One of them is to know who you are and stay true to your values. That is why it's important for every child, every young person to listen to advice, to listen to to allow themselves to be trained by their parents. Once you receive the training that your parents give you and stay true to that, it will help you to stay true to your values and the person that you are. And that will help you to say no to some of those temptations. Another strategy will be to be involved in your religious activities if you are a religious person. If you are a Christian, a Muslim, or a traditional believer, stay true to those values, because I know that these three religions in Ghana, none of them endorses the use of drugs. So stay true to your religious training as well. Then finally, remember that you came to the university alone, or you are an individual. If you get yourself involved in drugs, they will ruin your life. There are so many examples of people whose lives have been ruined by hard drugs in particular. So, young people, there is no joy. There is nothing that hard drugs will give you. They will rather ruin your life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Doc. And I believe from today, we will stay true to ourselves. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation.
It's my pleasure. Thanks. And I hope that these things we have discussed will go a long way to help some young person out there so that they get themselves out of any difficult situation they are in. God bless you for the good work.
God bless you too. Okay. Thank you, viewers, for staying with us. We hope to see you next time. Bye.